Hello friends and scribes. Today I'm going to show you my process for uploading your document to Smashwords. Before you upload to Smashwords, your document should be in its final stages of editing. Make sure you have fixed all your curly quotes, your ellipsis, get those end dashes and end dashes fixed, and do all of your content editing. If you keep your document simple from the start, using Scrivner, whatever word processor that you prefer, this process is a lot easier. To get through the auto vetting Meatgrinder at Smashwords for distribution, you have to use a document. You have to use Word doc. If you upload just an EPUB, your book will only be available on EPUB. If you upload with a document, then your distribution channels are wider. So it's worth your time to upload as a Word doc. If you don't want to lose your mind, you really do, I can't emphasize this enough, keep your document, your base, simple. And do all of your pretty formatting in a separate document. That way you always have a nice base to work from. Now Scrivener will do this for you automatically. Also, you want to read the style guide at Smashwords. It is free, it is quite detailed, and it will get you through the process. However, you're like me, you may have looked at it and your eyes glazed over and you didn't want to read it. It was too long. So in case you're one of those people, here is my process. So what we're going to do is I'm going to first open up Scrivener. Here's my document for my book. If you have seen my other videos, you've seen this before. I have everything in my folders. And I've also added a couple of new things for Smashwords. Here I have back matter. I want my back matter at the end of the book, so I have placed it up with my other documents. And I have created a special text file for Smashwords. Instead of creating a bunch of separate files, I put them all together. My acknowledgements about the author and a little thank you message, which is up here. I put all my contact information. Don't worry about the formatting here. It doesn't matter. When we compile, that'll all go away. We can customize that later. So it really makes no difference that these are all following different formats, different fonts, and they're all over the place. It's not pretty. It's not meant to be. A little further down, I have some front matter in my ebook. So I created a special file for Smashwords because I do have a specific requirement for copyright. You have to put that it's a Smashwords edition, and you also have to mention the copyright for Smashwords. So I have a separate file for that. It also includes a title page. They want the title and the author name on the first page for uploading. So again, that is also in the manual, so do read it. But this is my file so that I remember what I'm supposed to do. I also included my dedication here because it'll go after that. So that's that file for that. Again, formatting doesn't make a difference. It only took 5 minutes to put that together. So let's go to File and Compile. And I have a special preset already made. Let's start with Contents. So what you want to do to make this really simple, because all your formatting needs to be gone. Don't worry, we'll put it back. So I took out all the page breaks and I unchecked all of as is. I don't want anything as is, especially my text documents that are looking really bad. So I've selected all my back matter. I've selected all of my main files. And if you can see, there is a folder, and these here are scenes, and I have them separate because I like to put a scene break in between. That works for me. And I've also selected Add Front Matter from my ebook. So I've only selected Smashwords all front matter. That's all the information that I need. Don't worry about it. Again, we're going to take away all the formatting and we're going to have to put it back in anyway. So what it looks like right now won't make a difference. Here I've set my custom separators. So I've created my text separator with 3 dots. You can choose whatever separator that you want, this separator will be inserted between my adjacent text documents, which are my scenes. That would be, for example, one of the, oh, here we go. For example, if this was a chapter and these were the scenes, there would be a spacer in between about the author and all back matter. I have left folder separator as single return, folder and text separator as single return, and even though that I may have wanted to put a special separator in between my chapters for another formatting option, I've decided to take it out and just leave it as a single return, because I really don't need it with what I'm going to do. For formatting, again, we want it bare bones. So what I did was, when I first uploaded, I took advantage of Smashwords' automatic table of contents generator. So to ensure that my chapter 1 prefix here was going to show up along with the actual title, because that was very important. I needed the title to show. And the automatic table of contents feature requires you to have it labeled as chapter. I put them on the same line, which is different from the way it is in my book, the print version. So here was a paragraph tag. Let me put it back in here. So originally, it was a paragraph tag. I simply clicked in the box and I removed it. I put in a colon, put in a space. And that shifted it up and fixed it for me. So now this is how it's going to look. Again, what it looks like formatted doesn't make a difference. You can actually take out all the formatting. I'm going to leave it in to show you for demonstration what it looks like when we use our macro to actually do all the work for us. I also repeated the same thing on the other levels, simply because I wanted to be sure that there was not going to be anything weird going on. So level 1, I just have title selected. So only these titles here will show up, and that's where it says title. If I click this here, title goes away. I want it there, so it says title. No text will show. So these folders can have text in them. They do. I do not want to show, so I have to click off text. Level 1, I've got title here. Nothing's going on here, but I made sure that it was the same as the other. Here, we've got level 1. I'm going to show the title and text. And level 2. We need to show the text. Okay, so we have... So level 2 here is my about the author, so I wanted the text, the title and text to show for that. So that's why this is selected title and also text down here. We don't use transformations or replacements, no footnotes or comments. Page settings, leave it the way it is. Standard basic, take out your header and your footer. You don't need it. If it does happen to get put in your file, just delete it in the document. They'll just get in the way and we just don't want them there. So I'm going to compile for Word doc. Don't forget to change that. This is compile for Word doc. Plain doc, not docx, just plain doc. And we're going to compile. And here I already generated a file that I was playing with a little bit earlier. I just happened to call it Mindful Things Smashwords Grinder. Do not use your originals. It goes without saying. I'm just going to do that. I'm going to replace. Okay, we are finished with Scrivner. And let's take a look to see what we have here. There we are. And this will bring up the document so that we can see it really quickly, and then I'm going to close it. So here it is. Here's the document I created with Scrivner. So as you can see, it's pretty bare bones. There's the title, my name, there's the copyright info. Notice that's no formatting, that's okay. All right, the dedication is there, everything is all over the place. Now we have chapter 1, there's the heading, they're on the same line, and we should be able to see, there we are. There is the section break that happens in between my sections. Now the paragraphs are a little off, that's okay. We're going to close this for now. and we're going to go back here. So now that we've done that, we have a document to play with. The next thing you want to do is you want to open up a new Word document, and you need to make it bare. You gotta remove all of the auto features, turn off all the spell checker, the autocorrects, all of that needs to go. And also turn off, if you have markup on, turn off your markup. So how do you do that? Open up a document, any document, a blank document. This one has things in it. And you would go, in this version of Word, I have to go to Options. And earlier versions of Word, I believe this option is under Tools. Go to Tools, Proofing. So go to Proofing. And your boxes will be all checked if you haven't done this before. Check them all off. Go to Autocorrect Options. Wherever your autocorrect is, under your tools, deselect everything. Everything. You need nothing. All your actions, auto format as you type. Everything. Turn it off. Internet and network paths and hyperlinks will work, but just turn it off. I'm going to click OK. And if you don't want the settings to apply to all of your other documents, you can simply create an exception for this document that you're working on. For example, I have already created a Smashwords template, and I've had the exception set for just that, and it will only apply to that document I was working on. All right, once you do that, then what you want to do is you want to put your body text in normal. So here I'm at the Home tab, and we're going to go to these styles here. These are all your styles. An older version of Word, I believe that there's a box on the left-hand side that will say, has a drop-down, and it says normal or not normal or whatever presets there are. In newer versions of Word, it's under the Styles tab, and here it is. There's normal. And I believe it's set for Calibri 11, and it's you don't want that. You want it to be formatted all the same. So what you can do is you go to normal, and you can modify. And you can set it to the standard Times New Roman or Courier if that's what you want to do. Font size standard is 12, though some people might like 14, or they might have a book that's large print. You can adjust it for that standard. Make sure it's left hand side. And then you go to Format, Paragraph. And what you want to do here, make sure your indentation left-right is 0. Have your special here, this first line, set at between 0.25 and 0.35. You can go as high as 0.5, but on e-readers, half an inch is kind of big, so you might want to split the difference. I kind of like 0.35. But 0.25 also works. Your spacing before and after your paragraphs, unless you're doing block style, I'm doing indentation, should be 0. Your line spacing, single. This box should be empty. And click OK. Okay. And you can apply this to new documents based on this template. Now I have saved this as a template, so I'm going to select that. And I can add it to Styles Gallery, and you would normally hit OK, but it's already the way I want it set, so nothing's going to happen. And the next thing you want to do is you want to set all of your presets for your special formatting. Now, bold, italic, and underline are going to work fine with Smashwords. There's going to be nothing wrong with that. You just select on bold, you go up to your bar here, click bold. So all these work, bold, italic, underline, those are fine. Do not use the box up here to change font or font size. Instead, you need to create styles. So here, if you see on the right, I have a style for author name, and that is set for font 16, bolded, alignment is centered. Now you can set this however you want. You just go down to New Style, you click on that, it'll allow you to name your style. Let me just open this one. we're going to modify this one. Instead of create, you can create. So I've set it as SW, that means Smashwords, specific for Smashwords, or you can just set it as a standard. I'm probably in the future not going to use heading 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to use these presets because I can set them for the same values. They're just going to be cleaner and I won't have to do it twice. I can just do it once. So here we have author name, style type, and this style is based on normal because it is not a heading, so you want normal. And I like my style following paragraph to be normal. I get annoyed when I hit return and I can't get back to normal. So that's just my personal preference. And you want to add to styles gallery, new documents based on this template. You also want to go to format and go to font. And make sure that it matches. Occasionally it doesn't match. You want to make sure it's the same sets that you have. Occasionally I've had it that it's been on regular and not bold, and it's just not working right, so just make sure it's the way you want. And if I wanted this centered, here I have it centered, then I want to go to paragraph. Because this is based on normal, it will automatically have this first line indent here, and I don't want that. So I want to have no first line indent. That way my centering will work appropriately. So I'm going to click OK. All right. And I also have these other presets because based on my formatting the way I want it. I wanted bold to be a little bit bigger than 12 points, so I made one that's bold big for 14 point. I made one for a special underline for if I wanted to underline a book. It's also based on normal. These are all based on normal. Chapter heading is not based on normal. You want your chapter heading to be based on a heading. And here I've set it for heading 2 so that Smashwords will recognize your chapter titles if you're doing it automatically as chapters. Let's take a look. We're going to modify. You can see it's set for Times New Roman. It's 16. I can set it for any font that you want. I've chosen to keep a consistent font. And it's based on heading 1. Or you can change it to heading 2. Here my heading 2 is set to like blue, so if you notice everything is now off. That's going to happen when you change things, so that's why you always have to make sure that you're going in and you're checking and making sure everything is matching the way you want. And we also go to format, go to paragraph. It's going to be font. Well, you can always just check here, see there's no indent or anything, and that's fine. Might not want line spacing, so we're going to keep it single. And here I want some padding between my chapter heading before and after. When I looked at it online, when there wasn't any spacing, everything was really squashed together in some of the readers. So I'm going to set it for, let's say, 30 points. That should give us a nice padding here. So put 30 and 30. If you notice in the box, it'll show you what it looks like. We go to format paragraph. If I want to have page breaks, it's easier to have the header do it for me. That way I only have to do one thing. So you want to select on page break before. This is normally off. I turned it on previously. So you want page break before. And what that does is that every time you use this heading, it will put in a page break automatically. So let's actually test it here. Let's highlight this one. Let's apply this heading. There you go, page break. All right, we'll undo that. I also have it set dedication style. I want italic, and I want it centered. Again, keep in mind when you are centering something, make sure when you're basing something off of normal that you take off the indent. So let's take a look here. Let's modify. Let's go to format paragraph, make sure that the indent and spacing. See here, this first line here, we want that to be none. We do not want indent when we are centering. If I'm just using the standard size, then I just use up here, right? Because this will be in this font and that size. But if I want something different for a specific section, then I do need to create my own style, or else it will cause a problem. You don't want your headings and your title to be the same, because that will affect your table of contents. So make sure that your title page is different. So this one is set for heading based on heading 1 in its own style, 18-point font, and I have my chapter 1 set at heading 2 and a different size font. Okay, now that that's done, what we're going to do next, we're going to open our document. So I'm going to open up a new template, Smashwords template, and I prefer to import, but you can just copy and paste your file from one document to another. So I'm going to select text from file, alright, so I've inserted my file, and it's pretty bare bones, exactly what we want. There's still some formatting in here, and we're going to take all of that away. So before we take that all away, the problem with a lot of fiction, well, not really a problem, but there's a lot of italics, you might have underlines, you want to preserve those, and we can do that with a search and replace. If you don't have a macro to do it for you, what you want to do is you want to go to find and replace, and you want to find all your italics, for example, font, and we're going to look for italics, just italics. So you leave find blank, your format you want italics, and we're going to replace it with, and leave it, we're going to tag it, we're going to put in a little nonsense before and after. So we want, let's see, the sequence of letters works for me, and we'll put in caret and ampersand. Caret ampersand means just whatever it finds in italics in here, it's going to replace it with itself. And we're going to do this. Okay. So here's this, just nonsense. Again, you can put whatever you want. Just try to choose things that are not going to be in your document. And we're going to replace all italics with itself surrounded by this nonsense. And we're going to replace all. And there we go. Made 230 replacements for me. If you can see from my document, anything that was italicized is surrounded by these nonsense. So I'm going to undo this. Close this. And you would also repeat that for bold and underline as well. Just choose a different sequence of nonsense and then repeat all. Now I have a macro that does it for me called FREdit. I also have a separate macro if I'm doing something really quick. I'll just run my independent macro that I've done before, and I've showed you in another video. But FREdit allows a lot more flexibility. It's not hard to use. You do have to get a little used to it. So here's my file for FREdit. It's just one macro. You put in that macro, and the only thing that you change is a basic Word file that has instructions. So here's mine that does what I want for Smashwords specifically. So what it does a find and replace. Here's my nonsense here. There's the caret ampersand, and there's some more nonsense. And this is turquoise, so if I highlight this all in turquoise, anytime it finds an underline, here, it says blank, and this underline, that means find nothing, but find everything that's underlined, and then highlight it and surround it with this nonsense. I've done it here for underline. I've also done it here for italics, and also superscript, subscript, which I really don't use. I didn't create these, I actually borrowed them and I adapted them for my use. So I changed them slightly. And here's the one for bold. And this symbol here just tells the script to stop. And I can change this, so if I change my mind or I want to change the color, I want to change how it's tagging for me, if I want to put in a space, take out a space, etc., I can do it just from this file and just run the macro. So let's go back to our file here. And I have mine set on a shortcut key, but you can also go to View, Macro, and I'll show you. Here are all my macros here, and here is FREdit. All right, that will do a lot of the heavy lifting. I do use these other macros, but this one does a lot of it for me. So I'm going to run my shortcut. It'll take a minute. There we go. Now it's reading the file, and it's going to apply what I told it here. There you are. Anything that is bold or italicized is now highlighted so I can see it, and it's surrounded by the nonsense items. So it's tagged so I know which things are italics and which aren't. We can go through a bit. And if you can see here, also in a powerful feature, you can find obscure little errors. So I didn't realize before I ran this program, I was playing with it earlier, that I had a stray underline here underneath a punctuation mark. So that's why it's surrounded by this nonsense here, because it's telling me this period was underlined. It's probably just left over or was just an accident. So now I can fix that, which is a really nice feature. And the rest of the document is the same. So here is the bold. This was bold and italicized. Those are my chapters. So I'm going to go back up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit Control A, because we're going to select this entire document now that everything is tagged. And we're going to cut and paste it into Notepad. Some people use JEdit. I just use Notepad. Paste it in. All our formatting is gone. Everything is bare. So I'm going to Control A again, and I'm going to paste it back in my template. Alright, so here it is. So everything is still there except the formatting is all gone. So here's where we're going to make some adjustments. We're going to go back home. I'm going to hit Paragraph. We're going to turn off all these tagging so that we can see what's going on. We want it very clean, very plain. So I'm going to go down, and we're just going to take a quick look to see if there's anything weird going on. We're looking for tabs and spaces that don't belong where they are. But this document is pretty clean, as you can see. There's nothing weird going on. So I also pay particular attention to between my chapters. So here we go. Here we have some weirdness going on over here. See this big padding here. Now I know I turned off all the padding, so this might have been in the original file. It's not a big deal. I can just fix that. I can just delete this. Or, again, if I suspect that there's going to be more of them, I can do a find and replace. P is paragraph. So I can tell it to look for, let's do 4. Whenever it finds 4 paragraphs, we can tell it, please, let's take off this formatting here too. We don't want that. No formatting. We can tell it, anytime that there are 4 paragraph returns, replace it with nothing. And it looked like it happened a few times, so that was useful. Alright, so I'm pretty satisfied, so we're going to put the formatting back in. And I'm also going to use the same file. Now you can create a separate file. I haven't yet settled on exactly what I want to use, so I just have a little tidbit down here. So here, all these, if you see these, this is a nonsense, just like before, this is nonsense. This is a wild card. It says find any nonsense with wild things in between. So any word, it doesn't matter what the word is, it's surrounded by this nonsense, and this /1 says please replace it. And the one is so small because it has been replaced with, this is a subscript, that's superscript. This is bold, this one is italic, and this one is underline. This one's easier to see. That's underline. Okay, we don't have to worry about the color because the color's all gone. But we can re-highlight it if we want to. And here is the script I already ran to find 4 paragraphs and replace it with 1. Now I did that by hand, but I could have just had this macro do it for me automatically. I've also set this macro to do a macro, to replace my double spaces in case I accidentally put any in. So what I have to do here is I need to copy this and move it to the top of the file. I know it seems confusing, But this macro will not do anything after this pound sign. The pound sign says stop. So I'm just telling it, please replace this nonsense stuff with the actual stuff. It saves a lot of time, and I could have put this in another file. So I'm going to go back to here, and again I have it set on shortcut, but I can go to view macro and run macro. So I'm running my macro, it's looking at the file. And it's going to put back, so I had one instance of one double space that I accidentally put in, and it found that for me, it fixed it, and if you can see, the titles are back the way they were. And you see all of our italics are back, and so will all our bold and our underline. I could have set the macro to do this, but we're going to do this here. So we're going to find everything that starts with chapter. I don't have any other word in my document that says chapter, so I'm confident that this is going to be just fine. So we're going to find chapter, a format, style, and we're going to choose our pre-made style here, heading here. So if I can find it, there we go. Smashwords chapter, and we're going to replace it with style, this chapter heading. 26 replacements, and there we are. All the headings. So you can click on the headings, you see that's chapter heading, go here, you see that this part is normal and there's padding there. And there is a page break before it. Now here are my scene breaks. Now I'm going to adjust my scene breaks. Again, I could set the macro to do it for me, but to show you that we can do it here as well. So I'm going to find my symbol here, and it's stars with spaces, and we're going to replace it with a style. And here I have scene break space. Click OK. And replace all. There we go. And all my scenes breaks are now centered. And we can also adjust all of our front matter and back matter just as easily, because we didn't have to spend all our time on finding all those other things. So now we can do our title here. Select our title. And we can apply our title page. And here's my author name. We can apply that for that. And I can change it if I decide that I don't like it bold, I want to change it, I can always just modify it right here. And I can change it. There we go. All right, here's our copyright. So for the copyright, let's create a new one. We'll call it copyright style. Smashwords copyright. And we'll base that off paragraph, normal, and everything after will be normal. All right, let's have it be the same font. Let's make this adjustment here. Go to paragraph. Let's take out this indent so that our centering will work properly. Single line spacing, everything's 0. We can go back here, and now we can center it. And we click OK. And there we go. It's centered. And we can adjust our returns. Format here. It's a lot easier just to do it in the front matter than to have to do it through the whole document. You also want to redo these hyperlinks. You hyperlink, right click, and insert your link. Here's the address here, and we can change the text here. We can have it display as something else rather than the URL. So let's try that. So let's just remove this beginning here. And we'll just change it to a title instead. and click OK. There you go. Or if you don't mind having that, I like having the URLs there. So normally what I do is I just right click, I insert link, and just click OK, since it'll be up there already, and it just highlights it for me. And you can do that for your dedication, anything else you want to do. You don't want to have more than 4 paragraph returns in a row because it causes some weird formatting when you're reading online. So it looks good. All right, so we now have our template. So the next time we can save that as a template when we created our styles and our preferences. Make sure you save that and just double check to make sure you have everything set the way you want. And we just did all of our fixes, prefix, suffix. We took those out. All our underlines are back. And it's not so bad. With all the time that you saved, well, all the time I saved, when I had to do this a second time because I actually was missing a page in my original. I was missing my acknowledgments, and I had to redo it and put it back in. But it took no time at all to do that. And with the extra time, I actually created a custom table of contents, which required a little bit of typing, but it really wasn't that bad because everything was already set up. All I had to do was use the automatic bookmarks, and that will be for another video. If you want to know if you want tutorials that are in written format, you can visit Q&A Productions, custom book production for indie authors. Unfortunately, I didn't find this until like this morning, and it would have been nice and helpful to have it ahead of time to actually utilize that information. But that's okay, I just incorporated it and I mashed everything together, and I actually customized some more today to make it even easier the next time I did this. Cyberwitch, Smashword formatting, also has a tutorial on formatting step by step. Also follows the style guide at Smashwords. Again, you probably should read that. I also, my big mama macro that I love is called FREdit, and it's written by Paul Beverly. And you can find it and download it at Archive Productions. There are videos there, and there's an extensive library. You do not have to create them yourself. You can just copy and paste them. It does take a little getting used to, but it's pretty straightforward. Just start with something basic and simple as a find and replace. One side is find, the other one is replace, and play with the colors and the formatting and basic stuff, and then you can move on to the more complicated things. Otherwise, you can still record your macros and use those. They work just fine. Then it's worth your time to use a macro like FREdit. Okay, I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you next time.